I hated my family at this point. I blocked them off everything for 2 years. I ran away. I moved out. A major influencer shouted us out on the GoodGun. 3 days, we turned over 100 grand, man. My business partner ran up to me. He's like, can you believe this? And I was like, I don't care. I don't care.
Over the past few years, my life has completely changed. I've built one of Australia's most successful e-commerce startups, Happy Skin Co., generating over 10 million per year in sales and disrupting $1 billion industry in the process. I've now turned my passion for growth and personal development to bring you these honest and eye-opening conversations. This isn't just a business podcast. This is about the person underneath. This is about the journey. This is what it's really like. I'll be interviewing guests from all walks of life, each with their own unique perspectives and experiences, from the hardest day of their life to the biggest accomplishments and everything in between. My name is Mullan, and this is Life, Money and Love. All right, cool. Here we are. Finally, the episode 1 of Life, Money and Love. How long have we been talking about this? I've been telling you I'm going to get you on the pod for like a year, probably more. So first episode, it's the big one. It's the one and only Brenton Parkes. So here we go. Actor, entrepreneur, DJ, model, influencer. Where does it end? I don't know. But most importantly, new dad. The beautiful baby boy Luca. How old now? 2-3 weeks? Or
Literally 3 weeks today.
3 weeks old. Happy 3 weeks, Luca?
Yes, I'll let him know.
How is it being a new dad, honestly, though?
Dude, it's crazy. Like, it's funny. Like, I'm 26 years old now, and I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, by 26, I feel like we've felt most things. I know it sounds like a bit lame or maybe, cocky, but like I feel like 26, you've been heartbroken, you felt loved, you felt adrenaline, like you felt all these things, but like to feel something for something that you've created, you've birthed into this world. Like he's laying on my chest, I'm just staring at him for like 40 minutes, looking at his eyebrow twitch, and I'm like, you're fascinating. To have this new feeling, it's like, I don't know if that makes sense. I love it, man.
I can't believe it, man. And like, that's what everyone says. And like, I'm sure you can attest to it actually having a kid. Like we've had businesses and relationships and stuff. And like, you feel like you learn a lot and you feel like a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And then like, once you have a kid, like I'm sure none of that really matters compared to like the list of priorities when you have a wife and a little baby boy. So that's mental.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, man. It's like, it's almost like, not that, nothing matters, but like, it is kind of that like, you lose work, you gain work, like it's fun, but it's like, nah, this is real. This is really important. So,
well, on that, like I want to get into all the business stuff. Like you've had obviously a lot of business ventures over the years, but before that, I want to go back a little bit. And just, so when we were acting together, we were you were like 16, 17, really young. Yeah. And you already finished school.
Yep.
At that point. So first thing I want to like go back and just set the scene a little bit. Like I want to know for you, what was the school experience like?
Oh, it was disgusting, man. Yep. I hated school. Like, I got bullied so bad that I was actually jumping around schools, and I look at that, I was like, should I have just, I don't know, stood up for myself? Should I have said, nah, I'll get new friends? But honestly, it was so bad that like, I was at this school in the city at one point, and, these older boys would like pick on me, and I was like a cute, like little Justin Bieber.
Were you big as well?
No, I was tiny, had this little fringe. I was just cute, and I wasn't even a smart ass. Like they just like they'd take my bag, chuck it on the train tracks. I got stabbed in science one time just for nothing, man. And it's like, nah, how can you get stabbed for nothing? Like, bro, like some of these schools, which I'm not going to name, but like it was crazy, man. Like, so it was just terrible, like getting like tied up to poles and stuff. So got to the point where I'm like, I'm sick of this. I'm not smart in a sense of like book knowledge or anything. Like I just want to get out of here and find some sort of passion, find some sort of purpose outside of school.
And did you know like from a young age that you wanted to do acting, or was that kind of the first escape that you saw to take you out of this reality? How was it?
Yeah, it's a bit of an escape, man. That's probably a good point. Like I used to love movies and love, getting taken out of this just this young world that I was in. And I remember I went on this boat this one time, and there was this dude that came up to me. He's like, "You ever thought about acting?" And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "You want to?" So to this dude, like I met him and he took me for an audition, and it went pretty well, man. And I ended up getting signed by this agent, and I didn't get the job, but I got this pathway to where I am now with acting and everything.
Because you've always had that like surfer kind of home and away look. I remember even when we started, when you were like, straight away everyone's like, "Oh, this is Brent, like he's made for home and away," which you have, big role of the big starring role of the security guard on away. But you know the classic thing of like, I've been reflecting a lot on myself, trying to just understand myself and how I developed the mindset I have and how I've become how I am today. And a lot of people say, and I'm sure you've heard, like your childhood years and then your adolescent years are so important into who you become and like the sense of self that you develop. Obviously at the stage when you're at school and you're getting bullied, you're not really thinking of that consciously because how are you in the middle of it? But thinking back, have you thought about how that's kind of shaped you or influenced you to be how you are today? Have you made any, have you connected anything like that? Have you had a think about it?
I think so, man. Like, of course, it makes you more resilient to, you know, getting beaten down in the world. Like, it's not like you're not in school getting shoved into lockers, but you're in the big bad world where, you know, you can make mistakes or do wrong, or there are like, you know, it's even though it's not school, there are bullies in the workplace, and you know, people that with tall poppy syndrome trying to bring you down. I'm sure you've experienced that with business, sure. But I think for me, knowing that I've experienced my lows, like got to a point where I was. I remember at this one point, I think I was in year 9, just eating my lunch on the school, on the toilet, man, like literally locking in a cubicle, knowing that like I don't have any friends, I don't have any friend groups. Like I just want to get out of this, man, just having bad thoughts and like just eating my lunch. I'm like, this sucks. And, you know, it sounds sad to experience at such a young age, but like I know, you know, I know there's a lot of people that experience that, man, like a lot of the school bullying. So knowing that I've been through that and I've experienced some lows, it's kind of all up from here, man. Like, you know,
and it's not like what you'd expect. Like anyone looking at you now, tall, dark, handsome, funny, you'd think like this kid's had it easy, would have been the most popular guy in school, had all the friends, but it's not always like that. And it's like, I'm sure, like I always think of bullying. I was lucky. Look at me, I'm the opposite. I'm white skin, freckles, like red hair. You would have thought I was bullied a lot at school. I copped a little bit like anyone did, but not real true bullying. But the one thing that I just can't believe is like how cruel kids can be. And for me, it comes back on like, I mean, I don't want to point fingers at anyone, but the parents, like how bad, like now that you've had Luke, I know he's only literally just fresh out the womb, but I couldn't imagine how any parent or like how I would ever allow my kid to become a bully. Like that would be the worst thing in the world. Have you like thought about that, like what the role parents should have in stopping their children from being bullies? Because I know when on the other end and it's like you're the parent of the bully, sometimes like you're at your wit's end and there's nothing else you can do. So I just want to see like what your experience was with that, if you've thought about that or anything. Like
for sure, man. Like, you know, you never want to repeat the past, and for the people that you love, you never want anyone to go through what you've been through. So I think there is that now as a young parent, like you have that, even though he's 3 weeks old, he doesn't even know what, you know, love or school or any of the worldly things are. Like you do have that like, man, I don't want him to be bullied. I don't want him to be a bully. And to be honest, man, I didn't know this at the time, but you look back at the people that, I look back at the people that were bullying me and they were going through their own stuff at home, you know, their parents were doing this or going through this, or like they had their own issues that they were taking out on the kids at school. So, you know, forgive and forget, man, but you just got to be careful of like your home environment. You want your kids to grow up in such a healthy environment like that. They have no need to put anyone else down.
That's the thing as well. Like, I feel like one of the most important things is like raising your child in like an environment where they feel loved and supported and encouraged from home. So at least if they are not having the best experience at school, they do know what that love and support feels like. So I just think like, I don't know, I know a lot of people, like a lot of friends I have that probably their parents didn't show them enough love, whether they were like from old school European families or whatever it may be. And like growing up without that love and nurture, I really think it can have a really negative effect. For me, I grew up with my mum and my grandparents. I lived with my mum and my grandparents until I was like 5 years old. I was like fell asleep on my granddad's lap every night. I had the best upbringing ever. Like the best 5 years of my life was like the first 5 years. Like no matter what I do with business or success, or if you do acting again or podcasting, whatever it is, like nothing will be more special to me than those first 5 years of my life. And I look back at like what made me me, and I'm far from perfect. And I've had a lot of issues and things that I've wanted to develop and improve on by myself. But one of the things I've been very lucky to have naturally, in spite of, you know, outside appearances you may not think I would have, but I've always had a lot of self-belief and self-confidence. Maybe through my high school years it would, you know, manifest at times as a little bit of arrogance or cockiness, never to put people down, but just I had that little bit of like a chip on my shoulder, like, oh, I'm going to come first in this exam, everyone watch, like, oh yeah, talk it up. And then I would keep doing it, which like kind of reinforced that for me. But the point is like, I think I was so lucky to have that. And I don't know, is it genetics or what, but thinking back over the last couple of years trying to understand myself, I think one of the main reasons why was because when I was growing in that, you know, 0 to 5 period, and then even throughout my later childhood years, I just had so much love and so much positivity around me, and I was never told I couldn't achieve anything. So I know, I just think it was so important for me, and like probably like it's such an important thing that to give that to people around you. I don't know. Yeah.
It's huge, man. I mean, that's why they say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Like your environment, man, your upbringing, your family, like all these things play a huge part. And obviously, you know, it's not new news, but it's something like I feel like we forget that every day, and you should appreciate, your upbringing if you went through that stuff, man. It's beautiful.
100%. And like I feel like it's a big thing, and I'm kind of caught between the two sides of the story for this or whatever. Like there's that side that it's really important what happened in your childhood, and it can, but also I don't want, and I don't think people should let that be an excuse or a crutch for why they can't achieve certain things. Like when you're an adult, think about how much you've changed and what you've done since you've become an adult. And a couple of those things I really want to talk to you about is all the businesses that you've started. I know a few of them, there's probably even more. Like the GoodGun, Platinum DJ Services, Followers the Game. There's plenty, and we'll get into them. But the one I actually want to talk to you about first, and we've never really spoken about it in detail that much about the process. But I want to know, like, how, first of all, like Platinum DJ Services before COVID, how, like, at its peak, how many DJs did you have working for your business?
Oh, dude, we had 68 DJs right before
68 DJs. 68 and you were fully booked almost every weekend at parties all around Sydney, right?
Yeah, I mean, coming into winter, it slows down. Summer, bro, like I remember bringing in people from Melbourne, from the South Coast. There was like 2 instances of bringing people in the Gold Coast, like just desperate for DJs.
Wow.
And it got ridiculous, man. And I think the beautiful thing with that is like, you know, you look at like when we were younger, like if you go to a house party, bro, it was like an iPod dock and there was no lights or anything. No. Now, the expectation, like 16th, 18th, 21st, whatever the party is or wedding, whatever, bro, you need a DJ. You need lights, lasers, flavored smoke, photographer, party, like photo booth. Like there's a whole freaking package that's expected. And I think that's really obviously helped our business with you know, bookings and stuff.
How did that, like, how was it born? Where did you get, because you were already DJing before you started the DJ business, right?
Actually, the opposite. I went to, when I was 14 or 13, I went to a party that there was a DJ, and I'm like, and again, like you were like, what the heck? There's a like you don't even know what a DJ. It was a 21st, like my neighbors. And he had this little laser and this little strobe light. Like looking back, it was so pathetic. These little like $20 like little, but I was like, what is that? Like the strobe light. I was like, wow. And the DJ ended up passing out, and so I stole it. And he never asked for it back. Thank God that my business was built on lies. But I took it, man, and I started bringing it to parties my age, and everyone was like, mate,
this is at 14.
This is 14.
Yeah.
I was taking it to parties. I was getting invited to parties because of these lights.
Just to DJ or just to
just for the lights, man. And I went to this garage sale and bought these other, like, they were called traffic lights, like these neon things. And I had this package. Like I said, like I didn't have many friends. I was getting invited to parties.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would say, can you come and bring them? But like, we don't actually want you in the house. And I was like, well, yeah, all right, I'll come and meet you guys. And got to the point where I decided, like, you know, getting more and more lights and speakers and like making a bit of a business out of this. And then my brother was having a 16th birthday, and the DJ pulled out and he goes, oh, you've got decks. Can you DJ? I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. I was like, well, I don't want to let you down. So I gave it a go, and bro, I got like 8 bookings from that night. Wow. Like, you know,
what year was this about? Like,
I was probably in year 9 or 10.
Yeah, so like 15 years old, maybe?
16 years old.
And then from there, is that kind of when did you start thinking of as a business? Like this DJ, like full DJ services?
Yeah, well, I got to the point where I was DJing and I started getting double booked. I'm like, I need to train someone else up to be another me, and then triple me, quadruple me, and it just started just going from there, man. And like before, you know, I think it was like a year or 2 years, bro. We had like 30-something DJs. Like we're doing all the F45s in Sydney, doing I had all these contracts with all the wedding venues, and it was just nuts, man.
And how do you get these contracts? Because obviously we've talked about some of the other businesses that are more similar to mine, product-based, e-commerce focused businesses, but I don't understand with someone who just fell into it at such a young age, was able to, without seems, I don't know, that's what I want to find out, without really trying, grow this like massive DJ hire business in Sydney. Like, okay, you got one job and then you went to a party and you just got so many people that wanted to book you, but how did you start actively growing it? Like, what was the process there, and how did you find the DJs and find all the new work? That's what
I guess like you got 2 parts to it. You got the first part that it does passively just grow itself in a sense of when you do a job, you're not doing it with 2 people at a party. There's always like 80, 100 people. If you do a good job, which hopefully you do, it's 80 or 100 people that are like getting married, having a birthday. So you know what I mean? So the exposure's huge.
Yeah.
But there is that active part where like, I was putting on a collared shirt and running around the city, handing out brochures, flyers, all the hotels, all the businesses, like, corporate functions, like whatever. So just trying to get the contracts with all the places so we could be the first point of hire.
Because you killed it with like B2B stuff and like corporate events as well as personal like things, right?
Oh, dude, we were doing like, we did this one, man, like it got to the point where like, I think I was charging like, $250 or $300 for a DJ package, which like, just because of the volume, we had to pump it up to like $500.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like $500 and you start working on volume with all these other people getting a clip off their ticket.
Yeah.
Got to a point, man, where like, I remember the Navy, they've got this base down at, down south.
Yeah.
A couple hours down south.
Yeah.
And bro, it was like this $20,000 job. They wanted like DJs for these 4 days. They wanted lights and like 30 speakers or something that we had to like hire and import. Like it was this massive thing.
Yeah.
And it got me realizing like, oh my gosh, like not that it's about the money, but like there's so much there's so much money in this business that's like, and I was like, bro, and then I have no idea what you asked me, but I just remember, remember thinking like, bro, this thing has like massive potential to, I guess, like make some serious cash, and it's just a weekend thing.
Yeah, and it's just people just started like you never struggled to recruit more DJs. It was just like
like as long as you train them up and like give them the discipline and the equipment, like give them a high quality package that they can provide to the client. Yeah, it just grows itself, man.
Yeah. So we went from that high and that peak. Like I'm sure you were buzzing every weekend, booked, and then obviously COVID happens, and essentially overnight your entire business is shut off.
Yeah.
What's going through your head at that point?
Yeah, that was pretty hard for me, man, because like I've probably feel it. Like I've done so many businesses from like the age of 10, bro. Like I was building vending machines in my house full of cardboard and going to the pantry and getting all the chips and chocolates and selling it to my parents, Like I had the most random, when I was younger, I built out of fiberglass an actual vending machine. I took it to Cronulla Station and I sat in this on a 40-degree day.
Yeah, tell me about this. I've heard this story once before.
Oh,
I wanted to know about this.
Because I look back, I'm like, you idiot. And I'm like, I don't know how I got away with it, but I built this. I'm like, I was just so money hungry.
This, whoever's listening, this is one of the funniest and craziest business stories I've ever heard of. Honestly, tell the story again. It's so
it
funny.
was just so at the point I had this me and my mate had this boat and we just called it the Big Blue Cafe and we're sailing around the Port Hacking where I live in the Shire and selling chips, chocolates. Like we didn't have any licenses or anything, but we were just flogging ice creams and drinks and stuff to all the people on the beaches. And bro, this was a weekend thing.
And you're how old at this point?
Maybe like 16 or something.
So young,
Bro, and we were like 16, like pulling in like all this cash, like just me and my mate, and we were like, don't know how to save. We're like booking trips to Bali and like taking girlfriends and like, he bought a boat. It was just crazy, man. And we just got this rush of like business is fun, working out for ourselves is fun. So I'm like, how can I do something in the week? Because I was a weekend thing as well as the DJing. So I'm like, when I used to catch the train to study acting in the meantime in the city, I would every morning go to the vending machine and spend $8.40.
Yeah.
I would get a thing of Coke and the pork crackling chips and go to the city.
Yeah.
I'm like, these vending machines they're making so much money. I want to do that. So I built a vending machine out of fiberglass, bit of timber and stuff, went to Bunnings, built this thing, brought it up on my skateboard into Cronulla Station. Yeah. You're probably thinking, how did the guards not see this? How did the cameras not pick up? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even think, is this illegal?
16 years old.
Bro, I just took this thing in, put it on the edge of the station and I'm not a Sparky, so I didn't get it running with power. So I had this thing, it didn't say out of order. It said something else on the front saying use prong to get your food. So you put the money in which I would catch it inside. I was sitting in the vending machine. I'll catch the money, the cash, the coins, or whatever. And I had all the chips and chocolate I bought from the IGA. I'd feed it through a thing and they get a prong and put the thing in to which I would see what they wanted on the inside. But I think I probably put in like $600 or something by the end of the day. Got to the point. It was dark and I'm sweating. Like it was just happened to be one of those stupid hot days. I'm sweating bullets. These trains came in and all these like Kiwi boys and stuff came off the trains and they're like, well, you want to get some chocolate? Like whatever they were saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sweet, more sales, bro. They came up and they were like, they pushed the prong in and then they go, oh, don't get that. And as I'm bending over to get the thing that they wanted, the stupid chocolates, they shoved it in again and it went and cut. I've got a little scar here. It cut my cheekbone and I was like, ah! And I screamed and they're like, what the hell is that? It was like, there's a man in there. So they started kicking the thing and they push it over, man. And I didn't bolt it to the ground. I don't know what I'm doing. I fell over onto a train park bench, crushed my neck. And bro, they literally took the chocolates, cash, everything, taking it all, pulled my legs out. All these train police came out of the train. They were on the end carriage, came out, looked, oh, get away. Had the torches in my face. What is going on? Like, blah, blah. Bro, I took as much cash as I can, a pack of twisties and ran. Bro, I got away with the whole thing.
Yeah, dude. The first time I heard that story, still now the 72nd time, I honestly can't believe it. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I made $18.
$18 from the 600 you took in. You made $18.
Oh, dude.
Some of the other things that we've like, obviously we share a lot of commonalities in businesses, and I know you have several other businesses, like you said. Obviously, COVID with Platinum would have been a big one, but like apart from that, what do you think would be your most challenging day in business?
Most challenging thing by far that would stand out to me is don't have your identity in business. Because if you do and your business gets stripped away, you feel like no one, you feel like you have nothing. And that was the challenge for me with COVID, because my main, like at the time I had the GoodGun, which was importing and selling massage guns. I had the DJ services and I think that was the main two at the time. And at that time with COVID, obviously you hit China first, which is where we import our massage guns. Everything got shut down. The country was shut down and we couldn't get any guns. At the same time, there was no dancing in Australia. So all my services on the weekends were closed. So all of a sudden, I'm the businessman in Cronulla. Like I'm doing this thing. I'm busy. Like I like being busy doing my thing. And now I'm doing nothing. I feel like a failure overnight and I'm lost, you know? And I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but it's like, it's scary, bro. And I was like, it was some dark times, man. I was like visiting Beth and she was living in Canberra at the time before we were married. And I was just crying, man. I'm like calling my pastor from church, like, man, I don't know who I am. And it sounds so ridiculous, but when you're so involved in your business and that's who you are, you got to be careful if that gets stripped away from you. Like,
yeah, man. And I feel like with social media and Instagram and everyone's like, half the reason people do things is for clout. Like it's so easy for everyone to fall in that pattern. But what did you do? Like this is not even that long ago. How did you, because even no acting, I'm assuming like all the sets were shut down for several months.
Down,
like, how did you like, you identified you in that position and what was it that allowed you to kind of realize that, hey, the success of my businesses is not my worth. I am Brenton, and you know that's more important than all these other business things that I do. How did you get to that point? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. For me personally, I again just like upset with my fiance at the time, and I was just upset, man. And she looked at me and I still remember sitting in the lounge in Canberra, and I'm like, I just feel so low. I don't even know what that means, but that's how I feel, low, lost. And she goes, can I pray for you? And I was like, of course. And she just prayed for me that like a fire would ignite in my belly and that Brenton would come back and I get excited again. And from then on, man, that one prayer just stirred me, and it stirred my faith and my self-worth. And it all came back to me, bro. And from then I started like chipping away at like new businesses. I started like, it's almost like my purpose came back, and it wasn't like, no, you got to go find another business. It was like, no, you are Brenton, like you are loved. You know, God loves you. My wife loves me. And don't have your value in your business. You're more than that.
Well, that's the thing as well, right? Like you can't just forever sit in the problem, in the feeling low. Like you have to, and thankfully Beth was able to do that for you, give you that spark to realize that, hey, I'm going to be proactive about this, and I'm going to, you know, actively take steps to get back on track, or to, you know, start working towards my goals again. Because sitting in the problem's never the answer. Like you just got to, okay, even if you're at the lowest point, or problems at home or relationships or problems with business, you got to like identify and accept the facts. Like, okay, this is what it is. COVID happened. I have zero control over that. Okay. And then like, okay, that's the facts. Then realize, check in with yourself. Yep, that's how I'm feeling. And then just, okay, think about what I can actively do that's in my control. And then just one step at a time, set a plan and start working towards the life that you see for yourself. You're speaking about Beth. I think it's a really beautiful story how you met Beth, and I want you to tell that. But first, like, I feel like to tell that story properly, we have to go back to maybe where you were in your personal life a couple of years before that, and you're potentially at a bit of a low point before, and you mentioned your faith, and we always have really interesting discussions about how I might not be religious, but I have my own spiritual values and how they are actually quite similar when you boil them down to their core values. And I just want to, just like where were you at in that point? And because it's a really interesting story how you found that faith and then how it started to prove itself to you, and then you believe 100% this is it.
Yeah, man. Well, I think it was at this point where I was like, now I'm doing legitimate businesses, but back in once upon a time, I was doing some bad businesses, man, where like it wasn't like I'm not proud of it. You know, you look back and you're like, you were just like, so I was just like, I don't know why, man. I was just like, there was just corruption and I was just unhappy. Like I said, I didn't have like a lot of friends at this point. And to be honest, I felt like my acting career was just going down the toilet. Like I did that, 6 years of study, booked a couple of little jobs here and there, but I was just like, you know, I hated my family at this point. I blocked them off everything for 2 years. I ran away. I moved out. I had no money. I had nothing going for me. I felt in that point in my life, and I remember I did a movie maybe like a year prior to this moment, and the director, the writer-director, I bumped into at a cafe, and he goes, and I was reading this spiritual book, just searching, and he goes, oh, why don't you come down to church this Sunday? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll try out your cult, like whatever. And yeah, sure. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And that Saturday night, he messaged me. He's like, oh, I'll pick you up in the morning. And I was like, oh crap. So I went down, like left my wallet in the car. I'm like, what's going on? Like I've seen The Simpsons. I've heard about church. And bro, I walked in and everyone was nice, like good coffee. It was a beautiful place. But the thing that got me was I walked into the service, bro, and I felt God's presence in the room. Like they're all singing and you know, I thought it's a bunch of old people singing joy to the world. No, it was like young people singing, you know, it was like rock, and bro, the I can't like, you know, unfeel what I felt. It was God's presence in that room. I actually started to like tear up. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know what I'm singing, what's going on, but I can feel something. To which I this moment that I'm about to tell you, that I went home and I'm like, experience this. I don't know what that is.
Because you weren't religious growing up, were you?
No. Like, I was just doing what I wanted. And I was sitting on my balcony, man. I was just having a tea, looking up at the stars. I'm like, what's out there? Like, there's got to be more to this. I've had highs, I've had lows. I'm like, there's got to be more to this, man. And I remember praying and thinking, like, I don't even know how to pray or what prayer is, but praying, I'm like, God, like, I'm so unhappy now. I'm like, I'm on my hands and knees on my balcony in the cold. I'm like, I just want something. I want, and I don't know why this came to me, but I go, I want Home and Away. I want it. That was my, like, for, you know, for years. I wanted 100%. To get on Home and Away, man. I feel like I had no purpose in this acting industry. And I'm like, I want Home and Away. And I didn't have an acting agent at the time, nothing. Bro, 4 days later, I'm walking through the mall to pick up my fish and chips. I get a text from this woman and she goes, hi, Brenton, you've just landed the role on Home and Away. You start on Wednesday. I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
Is this my neighbour listening to my prayers? But I didn't audition for Home and Away.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're kidding. Reply, da-da-da. She's like, yeah, you start. It's all legit. Da-da-da. I'm like, and now I'm like, is this God real? Is this, and bro, I started praying for things. Things were, all this stuff was stirring in my life. And I went hard into my faith, man. Like, I was like, God, like, if, you know, show me all this stuff. Like, he's revealing all this crazy stuff, man. And then it got to the point where I'm like, I felt like my business and everything was picking up. Like I was more generous, more loving, more selfless. I was bringing my family back into my life, forgiving. That was huge for me. You know, learning to forgive and mend. And I'm like, man, I'm ready for a relationship, bro. I get a DM from this chick, and she goes, hey, I saw you go to church. I'm from Canberra. I'm up for the grand final, Raiders in Sydney. I'd love to come and check out your church. And I'm like, I don't usually reply to my
random DMs.
The requests in your.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, I want to come see church. I'm like, oh, of course, yes. And she's like, had like 80 followers. She looked like a dodgy little profile. It looked like a grandma, the little circle.
And was account on private? You couldn't see it.
Private, couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure. This is the address. And she goes, oh, do you want to meet like for a coffee beforehand? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like little grandma. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cute. I'll meet the little grandma. Bro, we met for a coffee. I walked into this cafe. I'm seeing there's like there's a big sports, like a training group sitting there. There's like a young hot girl, there's a couple there. And I'm thinking, all right, where's this, Bethany, this old woman. And this young cute girl at the back goes, Brenton. I was like, oh, hey. She's like, I'm Beth. I'm like, no. She still says this, like your jaw dropped. I'm like, no. When I was like, it's beautiful, beautiful. I'm like, are you Beth? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I thought you were a grandma.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? Bro, the next day I said to my best man, I'm like, I'm going to marry that girl.
Wow.
We got engaged 3 months later, married 9 months later, a kid 6 months later or 9 months later, whatever. Bro, it goes so quick.
Dude, I love that story so much, man. I love that. And like, I know we've spoken about this a couple times, and when I compare it to like my views, I don't want to diminish anyone's faith or what anyone believes or say anything's whatever, but like, I love that if people, whichever way, like whatever they connect with and whatever they find their purpose in, I love it so much. Like you have a beautiful relationship with Jesus or God, where for me, I don't necessarily have that, but like I will truly to my core feel connected to the universe. And like I put out my thoughts, not in prayer, but over the last 5 years in particular, like I've been really massive on visualization, and I really do believe in the law of attraction. And like, okay, I've done the same thing. I've kind of looked back on my life, and I've been able to have a really good life of successful businesses, good relationships, friends. And then it got to a point, maybe this is a year, just as we're starting Happy Skin Co. and especially after the first 6 months of having that really fast start and that lot of success, it kind of made me realize the power of this for me. And like, I look back and like, I'd like, okay, I read The Secret, like everyone does, you know what I mean? Like, oh, sure. Anyway, I read it, and then I actually didn't get it straight away. And I thought back in my life, hey, I've actually led a pretty good life, and I've, achieved a lot of good things that maybe I didn't have to work as hard to achieve, but I always believed that I would do well and good things would happen to me, and they inevitably did. And then I look back on my life, and throughout school, I wasn't always the hardest worker. Like I did get good results, like I said, but for me, what it was is like, I always just like visualized myself. Well, it wasn't visualizing back then. It was daydreaming. I always used to daydream about myself. I was in class, or I was driving, or I was training, running, whatever. And I'm visualizing myself doing well in this exam, or, going out with like the most beautiful girl, or, becoming a successful actor, or starting a really cool business. And then like one by one, these things started to happen. And then I stepped back and I'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? And like, me and my old business partner, George, before we launched Happy Skin Co., we'd be working out the excitement of when you're working on a business the months before you launch. We'd, do like 4 or 5 hours after work working on the business, and like we're just talking through, and then we'd go across the road. He had a park across the road from his house, and sit on the bench, and we'd just say all these moments about, hey, when we make our first million, or like this is going to be successful, we know we're going to work with this person, this, whatever. And then like that period before we launched the business is when I really got deep into like trusting the world and the universe and this visualization with what I found. And like the results when you can connect with your faith, whatever that is, and if you truly are into it and like it works for you, whatever that may be. I'm not saying whatever religion it is, or you don't have to visualize whatever. I know visualization, the law of attraction has worked for me. But once I connected with that, bro, like the power of it, not only in like the physical things, okay, you prayed for this, it happened, I visualized it happen, but like you just feel so much more at peace. You know what I mean? Like you're not like worried about getting every little detail perfect, because you trust the path you're on and you trust the process, whether it be for me believing in myself and the universe, or you just knowing that you have a beautiful family and faith, and like you have Jesus and a relationship with God. Like you having that, for me anyway, I don't want to speak on behalf of you, but like you don't really care as much about all the fucking small details, because hey, I know my path, I know why I'm here on earth, and I know what I'm going to achieve. And it's such a freeing feeling. I don't know can you like relate to that?
Of course, man. Like even just before I came here, I told you I was doing a shoot in the city, and the photographer he was just like really anxious today, and he's like, man, like he loves like politics and worldly things and stuff, and he's always blubbering on about this stuff, which I find really interesting.
It's interesting, but bro, if you get too into that, it can be a mindfuck.
And I could just tell he's stressed. He's like, mate, it was Judgment Day, this world's bloody imploding. I'm like, probably is, man. Like I said, look, to be honest, like I was reading in the New Testament the other day, Jesus was saying like, it comes to a point where worlds will, nations will go war against nations. There'll be flooding and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I swear this is now. Like, bro. But it's like, it's that piece of like, like I know where I'm going after this. Like I have this piece of like, I can't control a lot of this stuff, man. Like it's, this is taking care of itself. And like you said, man, you just got to trust that. And there's just peace that comes with that, and it's beautiful. Yeah,
and like it doesn't have to be like a faith or spirituality. Like I don't want to tell people what to do or what to believe, but if you can find a bigger purpose other than yourself, like because you're going to have highs and lows and you're always going to have problems, but if you can find a goal that connects to your core and your heart and your purpose and your soul, and you can have that something bigger than you to connect to or fall back on or think about, even just think about when the times are tough. I think that that can really help a lot, man. Like, cause life isn't always easy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do have like, I want to just not go through some fast questions with you, but there's a couple of things that I just randomly want to ask and see your perspective on. The first one is like, what is your relationship to mental health?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're sitting on a plane, they say, take care of yourself, like put the mask on yourself before you put on your, I think that's really, in these times where there's so much noise and we're trying to be busy and all these things, you really do have to prioritize, in my opinion, your own mental health first, because, you know, you want to be the best dad, the best friend, the best boss before you pour into others. So take care of yourself. So if you feel yourself, you know, burning out, so to speak, just rest, bro. And I've learned that the hard way. So big advocate for that.
I agree, man. It's like, you really have to make sure you fill up your, like exactly what you said, man. I agree with it completely. Like, and it's not a selfish thing, because like, if you really want to be able to do good and help people out long-term, if you don't look after yourself and you don't prioritize your own self-care and your own mental health, not over other people's, but you need to build that solid foundation first. And then it's going to allow you to, you know, go help, first of all, help the people around you. First, help you. I really believe you need to be able to be comfortable in yourself. And then once you've handled that, then you can help the people around you and be a good person like that. Be that uplifting spirit when people connect with you. I had a coffee with Brenton. I left feeling better than I was when I started. Affect the people around you. And then it's like that part where we're both at, where we're trying to figure out, okay, what's this big lasting impact that I can leave, not just on the people close to me, but potentially the world? And like, how can I leave my impact or make my mark on the world to like leave it a better place than when I come? But if you're not okay within yourself, you need to go back and work on that first, because you're not going to be any good to the people around you or the wider community if you're not secure or happy and you're looking after yourself first.
Huge, man.
And another thing related to that I want to know is like, just for people, like everyone has their own different tips and techniques. Do you have any daily practices or, you know, techniques that you've, you know, implemented into your life that helps you manage your mental health and maybe like optimize your performance or how you feel?
And bro, we've spoken about this before. Morning routine.
Yeah.
You have to have a morning routine. Yeah. You have to have a morning routine. If you don't have a morning routine, you don't have a day. Like if you don't start your morning with intention, and that's why we meet down at the 5:30 club in the morning. It's like cafe in Cronulla. They're all over Sydney. Like they're
there's how many of them is there now?
Bro, there was 52, but COVID didn't help. So I think a few of them have backed off. But, you know, for me and my mates, we go down to the cafe. We start our day with coffee, which is always going to be good. And then we read our Bible. Some people listen to a podcast. Some people do some exercise, swim, whatever it is. Start your day with something to settle your mind, because for us at 5:30 in the morning, that is the peaceful hour. No, you don't need to get back to anyone. You don't need to do anything at that time, okay? Focus on yourself and posture your heart and your mind for the day, because it gets crazy out there.
Bro, if you don't start the day with intention, sometimes it can get to like, it's 4:30 in the afternoon and you've been a passenger in the day and you haven't really had any purpose or effect on what you want to do, and just realize, how is it fucking like 5 p.m. already? I've been running around like a headless goose. So it's like, I was one of those ones trying to start the 5:30 club. I didn't quite follow through, but I've always had my own morning routine. And it really works for me when I stop, when I fall out of my good habits and routine with that. Very quickly, that's when piece by piece it starts, you know, itching at the back of your mind. You're not quite feeling yourself and you're not sure why. And then you stop and you think, wait a minute, I haven't been, you know, setting the intention from the start of the day correctly. And I think why that's so good. I've been reading this book recently. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Stolen Focus, Johan Hari. And essentially it's like such a good book. I'm only like halfway through. I started reading a couple of days ago, but particularly like in today's world, there's so much information. Like there's unlimited information, social, like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, news, there's COVID, there's mosquito virus, there's all this shit going on. And it's like, how can you like this, our brains, like human evolution has like developed over, you know, so long, our brains can't just keep up and develop with the rate of like technology. So it's like, I find that in myself, and I'm not sure again if you can relate to this, but like, I'll be trying to listen to like, there's like 5 podcasts I listen to every week. And then I want to keep up with the news and I want to check in with all these people and make sure, hey, I'm not missing out on what's happening. And then what happens after a while, and this is from the book, and it made so much sense to me. But it's like, okay, if you want to keep up with all this, and there's so much information filling these like information highways, and it's right there, it's in our pockets, in our hands instantly. It's like you're sacrificing depth. If you can have a little bit of all this information, you're not really going deep on any one thing, and you're not giving your brain and your mind and yourself the space to decompress and literally sit back and think about, even if it's subconsciously, think about what's been happening to you and process that and like make links between like why you're feeling like this, or get an idea when you're just sitting there doing nothing. We don't give ourselves enough time to do nothing. Like I'll be in the shower, put a podcast on. Like you just sometimes I consciously have to give myself time to just sit and like not listen to a podcast and not have to check my phone, or whether I'm just sitting and meditating or I'm just reading and really focusing on that one thing. It's a massive, massive game changer for me. I don't know about you.
I love that, man. The sacrificing, would you say sacrificing depth?
Depth, yeah.
Dude, that's huge. Yeah, that really speaks to me.
That's a good book.
Yeah.
Another thing, because you've done a lot. You've had a really cool life, exciting life anyway, from the outside looking in, and I've been involved in some parts of it. But what's like the achievement you're most proud of?
Dude, I'd probably say my family, man. I shouldn't say probably. I'll say my family. As much as I've had so much fun in business, family, man, because I was really really selfish growing up, like especially through business, and and if you can easily fall into that like me, more, but to have like a family and to put your family first, like to say no to work because I want to hang out with my son, or like stuff like that, like that's a huge achievement, especially when like, bro, like people were speaking words over my life in school, like, oh, you're gay, you're never gonna have like just all this stuff where you're like, you kind of subconsciously think like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, am I gonna have a family in the future? Am I gonna achieve this or that? So like now have this beautiful son, and my wife who I adore so much. She's the best thing in my life, man. I'm really proud of those guys.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And yeah, like honestly, I haven't met Luke yet, but like just seeing really how you energetically have like developed over the last like 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, and like I'm like how you are around Beth, and like as I can see from Instagram and how you are with Luca, it's such a beautiful thing. And I think that's such a thing to be proud of as well. Like you can say, oh, I've sold this many massage guns, or I've filmed on this movie, or I don't know, whatever. But I think if that's like, yeah, I think that's a really good achievement to be proud of. And like, I'm the same with like, we do so many things. It's really easy to think me, and I want to achieve this. So it's like, I'm still on that journey. Obviously I don't have a kid yet, but like that'll be a big achievement. Like going from being not selfish as in like putting other people down, but like balancing, like we said, looking after yourself, but also being a good person for the people you're around. So I love that, man.
You just said something that reminded me, and I know you can relate to this, man. I remember last year we were selling the GoodGun and it was peaking, had all this influencer marketing. I remember I had an argument with Beth, and it was one of those that you just like, oh, I think we're a bit stubborn, and like, you were right, wrong, or whatever. Like I can't even remember what it was. It was probably dumb. We're having this argument, man, and at the same time, a major influencer shouted us out on the GoodGun. And I remember in the matter of Vonnie, my business partner, could confirm, but it was 3 days. We turned over $100,000, man. And I know it's not much,
that's
but
crazy,
bro.
Man.
Like in a couple of days, $100,000. And my business partner, we were at my garage just through. She ran up to me. He's like, can you believe this? And I was like, I don't care. I want to call my missus and say I'm sorry.
Wow.
And it was in that moment, I'm like, with this massive amount of like, we always think, oh, more money, more happiness, whatever. In this, it's like, bro, we got to get real. Like, there's so many real things. And you know what I mean? That just reminded me. I'm like, dude.
What were you feeling in that space before you apologized? Like, was it guilt, shame?
Oh, dude, 'cause again, I can't remember what it was. It was probably something it would have been something I did that was just dumb, and I didn't want to. And I was just like, when at a big, exciting thing that should have made me feel so, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Respect to the business and my business partner, I just don't care. And I want to make things right with my wife. And I was like, wow, like what a interesting.
Have you found your purpose yet?
Yeah, man. And I always bring it back to serve, man. Like, how can I serve? How can I serve my friends, my family? Like, I give a lot of time to my mates. Obviously, my family first, but my mates are like, I really, you just got to serve, bro. And the more selfish things you do, the more, a bit of fun, but it's not fulfilling. The more selfless things you do, if you can give, whether it's your time, your treasures, whatever that may be, bro, that's where you fulfill.
But it comes back to you, right? Like, if you put good out and you look after people, dude, it might not happen tomorrow or next week or next month, but it's gonna start coming back to you in so many ways. So
for sure, man.
Yeah, and last couple questions, and then we'll wrap it up for episode 1. First one, I can't believe it. But what does your dream life look like? Like, no, like, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to. What is your dream life?
Acting, man. In terms of career, acting, like doing, big movies where I can have a lot of fun playing characters, meeting cool people. Like the partying or the fame or any of that, like, that doesn't interest me. But like being able to play characters in big movies that I can take my family to watch and stuff like that. And then just have like a secure home with my family, like have a bunch of kids, like just real, I don't know if that sounds simple. It sounds simple in my, just, simple family life with really exciting career. Yeah. Bro, I look at Chris Hemsworth, like, from what I don't know him, but from what
I thought you were really close with him.
We've met a couple times, but
you're a stunt double, right?
Yeah. But bro, like, from what it seems, like, he does it, like, he'll do 2 major movies every year, and then he'll go away with his family. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, what a cool balance. I think that looks really fun.
That's epic. And what last one? What's next?
What's next is, like, as you know, and no one else is going to know, but I've done I filmed a show last year and a movie at the start of this year, which none of that's released yet.
It's exciting. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got, all this stuff's about to kick off, but like, you can't really talk about it yet. Like, you haven't really, it's coming, but like, what's that? Is it like a feeling of anticipation or?
It's just excitement, man. And I keep hearing from producers that things are getting pushed back, and because they want to do it in the perfect timing. So it's like, I got to trust them. They're the professionals. But I'm like, I just get so excited. So I think that, man, that's next for me. And definitely Followers the Game, which is, I've told you all about. It's the board game that we created, me and my mate Ori created in the midst of COVID. Literally a board game about influencers. We've got Karen, we've got mummy blogger, we've got vegan activist, bodybuilder, all the Instagram, all the influencers are there, and you got to get 1 million followers. So that's gonna be really fun. We'll be releasing that really, really soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. Honestly, Joe, have you seen that? Have you seen some of the stuff? I can't wait. It's gonna be such a good. When's it gonna launch? Like,
it's getting shipped at the end of next month. So I don't know when this is being released, but really soon, man.
Next few weeks.
And especially because the reason why that really impacted me and my mates, because in COVID, you could obviously have small gatherings. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but we were playing so much board games. It was all inside. The restaurants and everything wasn't open, but we were gathering, man. And it was like, sometimes you're like, I'm going to go out, have some drinks, some mad food, spend a heap of money. It's like, bro, I had some of the best times indoors. You get a bottle of wine, make some nachos, and play a board game. Everyone's laughing, having fun, and it brings people together off the phone and on the board.
100%. Like, bringing it back a little bit, like, far out. Those times, like, I think, even though how, like, whatever, it was what it was, like, I think if you can, step back and have a look at it, COVID really showed us some really nice things about human nature. And, like, that's one thing, like, just, like, being grateful for, like, hanging out with your friends and not doing anything. Like, you couldn't, like you said, go partying or get drunk or travel overseas, but just finding the joy in, like, the simplest things. And I remember I was living here alone in my place, and like I was fine. Like, I was still busy with work, so I'd be like working from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. like Monday to Friday, and then like you wouldn't really see anyone. I'd go into the office, maybe see someone every now and then, but hardly. And then like I'd hang out with a friend on Friday, Saturday night, and just like that one-on-one interaction, hanging out with someone, like you look forward to that so much, man. It was such a beautiful thing to realize. Like, you don't need a lot to find joy. You know what I mean? If you have that perspective. So yeah.
It's like COVID just stripped it all back and showed us what was real the whole time.
Exactly. All right. Well, Brenton Parkes, thank you so much, bro. You like, again, taking your time out of your day to come. I've told you about this many, many months ago, and straight away you said 100% you'd do it. So thank you, bro. We're definitely going to have you back on when we're a massive potty. So can't wait. All right. Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, could you please do me a quick favor and hit the follow or subscribe button? I honestly appreciate it more than you know. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.